"Get your hands off me." Victoria's scream cut through the desert morning like a siren. I had her by the wrist, not hard, but firm enough, trying to pull the eviction notice from her grip. Her other hand clawed at my face, nails raking down my cheek. "You're assaulting me!" she shrieked. "Someone call 911! Behind her, a woman in yoga pants already had her phone up, recording everything. The red light blinked like an accusation. I let go immediately, stepping back, blood warm on my face. "Lady, you're trespassing on federal land." "Trespassing?" Victoria stumbled backward in her crimson blazer and red heels, perfectly playing the victim for the camera. "You just attacked me for serving legal papers." "That's a lie." "I have witnesses." She turned to the growing crowd of Desert Ridge residents gathering at my fence line. "You all saw it. He grabbed me. He threatened me." The woman with the phone nodded frantically. "I got it all on video." My stomach dropped. Because what that video would show me, a 235-pound ex-ranger grabbing a 120-pound woman, wouldn't show the 10 minutes before when she'd been on my property, nailing eviction notices to my barn, refusing to leave when I asked calmly, then politely, then firmly. It would just show me losing my temper, and I'd just handed her exactly what she needed to destroy me. "Mr. Brennan?" Victoria said, voice suddenly calm and composed, dabbing at her wrist with a tissue like she was documenting injuries. "You have 72 hours to vacate this property. After that, we're filing for emergency removal. And now," she smiled, cold and victorious, "now we're adding assault charges." Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had already called the cops. I stood there on my own land I'd bought with military service, built with my own hands, defended for 14 years, and realized I'd just lost the first battle. Because in 2024, it doesn't matter who's right, it matters who's on camera. And Victoria Harrington had just gone viral. My name is Marcus Brennan. I'm 57 years old, retired Army Ranger, 35 years of service across 4 continents. And 6 hours ago, I became that veteran who attacked an HOA president. The video was everywhere, by noon, TikTok, Twitter. Facebook groups with titles like HOA Karen gets attacked by angry veteran, except I wasn't the hero in that narrative. I was the villain. The comments were brutal. "Dude's unhinged. PTSD much? She's literally just doing her job and he assaults her. This is why veterans need mental health screening. Hope he rots in jail." A few tried to defend me. Wait for context before judging. HOAs are corrupt. Maybe there's more to this. But those voices drowned in the flood of outrage. Because the video didn't lie technically, it just didn't tell the truth either. The Scottsdale police arrived within 20 minutes of Victoria's call. 2 officers, professional and cautious, took statements from everyone. "Mr. Brennan," the lead officer said, "did you make physical contact with Miss Harrington?" I grabbed her wrist to stop her from, "Yes or no, sir." I closed my eyes. "Yes." "Did she consent to that contact?" "No, but then that's assault, sir." "I'm going to have to ask you to come down to the station. I wasn't handcuffed small mercy, but I was, read my rights, placed in the back of a cruiser and driven away while neighbors filmed the whole thing. At the station, I gave my full statement. Victoria had been trespassing. I'd asked her to leave multiple times. She'd refused. I'd tried to remove the illegal eviction notice from her hand. She'd attacked me first. I defended myself. The detective listened, typed it up, then said, "Mr. Brennan, I believe you. But what I believe doesn't matter. What matters is what we can prove. And right now, there's a video of you grabbing her. She has scratch marks on her wrist. You have a scratch on your face that could be explained as her defending herself. So I'm charged? Misdemeanor assault. You'll be arraigned Monday. In the meantime, he slid a restraining order across the table. You're to stay 500 feet away from Miss End. Harrington and Desert Ridge HOA property. That's my property line. She was on my land. According to her complaint, the county's reviewing that boundary. Until it's settled, This order stands. I wanted to flip the table. Instead, I signed the order and walked out. My buddy Sam picked me up. Face grim. Brother, this is bad. I know. No, you don't. He showed me his phone. You're trending. Number veteran assault. Local news picked it up. Phoenix NBC wants a statement. I stared at the screen. The video had 2.3 million views in 6 hours. Sam, I didn't. I know you didn't, but nobody else does. And Victoria? She's playing this perfectly. Gave a tearful interview about feeling threatened by someone who's supposed to protect people. We drove in silence for a while. Finally, Sam said quietly, Marcus, you need to be real with me. Did you lose your temper? Yeah. How bad? I remembered the moment. Victoria standing on my porch, hammer in hand, nailing that eviction notice like she was crucifying my life. The smirk on her face. The way she said, Your service doesn't make you special, Mr. Brennan. Rules are rules. And something in me, something I thought I'd buried after retirement, surged up like acid. Bad enough, I admitted. Sam pulled over, turned to me. Brother, I love you. Served with your unit. Trust you with my life. But if you go into this fight with that energy, you'll lose everything. She's waiting for you to blow up again. I know. Do you? Because right now, you're not fighting an HOA, you're fighting public opinion. And you just lost round 1. He was right. I'd been so focused on being legally correct that I'd forgotten the oldest rule of warfare. Perception is reality, and Victoria had just weaponized that against me. That night, sitting on my porch with Duke at my feet, I made a list of everything I'd lost in one day. 1. Public support. 2. Legal high ground. 3. Right to approach HOA property. 4. Clean record, pending assault charge. 5. Reputation. What I had left? 1. Federal land deed. 2. My integrity, barely 3. A dog who didn't judge me. The next morning, my phone buzzed. Elena Rodriguez, the property rights attorney I'd hired. Mr. Brennan, we need to talk. Her voice told me everything. You're dropping me. Long pause. The optics are terrible. I can't represent someone with a pending assault charge against the opposing party. It's an ethics violation. Elena, I didn't. I know. I believe you. But belief isn't enough. I'm sorry. Click. I sat there, phone dead in my hand, and realized Victoria hadn't just won round 1. She'd knocked me flat on the canvas, and the referee was counting. But here's what Victoria didn't know. I'd been knocked down before. In Fallujah, in Kandahar, in a dozen places that made Desert Ridge look like a playground. And I'd always gotten back up. This time would be no different. I just needed a new strategy. Because the old Marcus, the one who fought with righteous anger and military authority, had just been destroyed. The new Marcus would have to be smarter, calmer, and willing to do something I'd never done before. Lose in public to win in private. The call from Veterans Affairs came 3 days after my arrest. I was still reeling from the lawyer dropping me, from the assault charge hanging over my head, from the viral video that had turned me into a national pariah. Mr. Brennan? The voice was professional, distant. This is Jennifer Cole from the VA Property Rights Division. We're calling regarding your military homestead grant status. Finally, someone who understood federal protection. Yes, thank you. I need. We're placing your claim under review. My stomach dropped. Review? Why? Due to pending criminal charges and disputed boundary claims, we're required to investigate whether your property qualifies for continued federal protection. It's a misdemeanor assault charge. Doesn't affect property. It affects our liability, Mr. Brennan. If you're deemed a threat to surrounding communities, we may need to revoke homestead status. You can't be serious. The review process takes 90 to 180 days. During that time, you should refrain from any construction or modification to the property. My barn burned down. I need to rebuild. That's currently under arson investigation. Until resolved, no building permits will be issued. She hung up. Before I could argue, I stood there, phone trembling in my hand. Understanding, finally, sinking in. Victoria hadn't just attacked me. She'd attacked the one thing I thought was bulletproof federal protection, and she'd done it by making me look dangerous. The strategy was genius, terrifying, and working. That afternoon, Sam came by with news that made everything worse. "Marcus, I found out who Victoria really is. HOA president with a god complex? More than that." He pulled out a manila folder. I did some digging. Victoria Harrington used to be Victoria Chen. 10 years ago, she and her husband owned a small ranch outside Tempe. Not as big as yours, but similar family property, horses, the works. What happened? Economic crash, 2014. They took a second mortgage to expand. Market tanked. Bank foreclosed. She lost everything. I stared at the documents. Foreclosure notice. Auction records. News article with a photo of Victoria Younger, devastated, being escorted off her own property by sheriff's deputies. Her husband left her, Sam continued, took the kids, blamed her for the financial decisions. She had a breakdown, spent time in a psych facility. Jesus, gets worse. She tried to fight the foreclosure, claimed the bank had violated federal protection laws, hired lawyers, went broke fighting, lost anyway. I looked up, and now she's doing to me what was done to her. Except, she's on the winning side this time. Sam sat down heavily. "Marcus, she's not just power-hungry, she's traumatized. That HOA presidency, that control over property, boundaries, rules, it's all she has left. That doesn't excuse... I'm not excusing it, I'm explaining it. You're not fighting an HOA, Karen. You're fighting someone who's terrified of being powerless again." I thought about that viral video, the way Victoria had performed being attacked, the calculated tears, the perfect victim narrative. She knew exactly what she was doing. I said quietly, "Of course she did. She's been preparing for this fight for 10 years. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Victoria's face in that foreclosure photo, broken, humiliated, dragged from her home by armed officers, and I thought about how I'd grabbed her wrist, how she'd screamed, how it must have triggered every nightmare from her own eviction. Was I becoming her enemy? Or was I already her mirror? At 2 a.m., I did something I hadn't done since retirement. I called the base counselor. "Marcus Brennan, doctor." Sarah Williams sounded surprised. "It's been 5 years. I need to talk. Off the record. Always." I told her everything. The assault, the video, the realization that I'd grabbed someone who'd been violently removed from her own property a decade ago. "I didn't mean to hurt her," I said finally, "but I did, and now I'm wondering, am I the bad guy here?" Long silence. Then, "Marcus, do you think you're the bad guy?" "I don't know anymore. I grabbed a woman, on camera, in front of witnesses. That's assault, legally. Does it matter that I thought I was defending my property? Does it matter to you? It should, but part of me still thinks I was right, that she was trespassing, that she deserved." I stopped. "God, listen to me. You sound like someone who's been fighting so long you've forgotten how to stop. Maybe I have. Then here's what you need to understand. Victoria's trauma doesn't excuse her behavior, but your trauma doesn't excuse yours either. You both grabbed weapons. Hers was bureaucracy. Yours was physical force. Both caused harm. So what do? You apologize, publicly, not because you were wrong about property rights, but because you were wrong about how you fought. She'll use it against me. Probably, but that's the price of integrity, Marcus. Being right doesn't mean you get to be cruel." I hung up, sat in the dark, and wrote an apology I never thought I'd have to write. The next morning, I posted it on Facebook, *, "To Victoria Harrington and the Desert Ridge community. I owe you an apology. 3 days ago, I grabbed Victoria's wrist during a property dispute. That was wrong. Regardless of the legal issues we're facing, physical contact was inappropriate and frightening. I'm a veteran who spent 35 years in the military. I should know better. I should be better. I'm sorry, Victoria. I'm sorry to everyone who witnessed it. I'm working on managing my response to conflict. This doesn't mean I'm giving up my property rights, but it means I'll fight the right way from now on. Marcus Brennan, asterisk. The post went semi-viral. Not 2.3 million views, but enough. The comments were mixed. Takes a real man to admit wrong. Too little too late. She's still harassing him though? Apology doesn't erase assault, but the one that mattered came from an unexpected source. Victoria herself commented, "I accept your apology. Perhaps we can resolve this civilly." Sam called immediately. "Brother, did you see? I saw. She's playing the gracious victim now." Maybe. Or maybe she actually respects you for not doubling down. Maybe. But I knew better, because that afternoon I received another notice from the county. Zoning hearing scheduled Iron Mountain Ranch boundary dispute. Victoria had accepted my apology in public, but she was still coming for my land in private. The question was, could I fight her without becoming her? Or was I already too far gone? The zoning hearing was set for 2 weeks out. In that time, I had to find a new lawyer, rebuild my reputation, and somehow prove that my federal land rights trumped HOA annexation, all while under a restraining order that kept me 500 feet from the people I needed to confront. I spent those days doing 3 things. 1. Research. I buried myself in property law, federal homestead regulations, and HOA limitation statutes. Turns out, Sam was right. Military homestead grants have a loophole. If the property becomes uninhabitable or abandoned, federal protection can be revoked. Victoria was trying to prove exactly that. 2. Rebuild. Not the barn couldn't get permits, but my reputation. I volunteered at the VA hospital, helped elderly veterans with yard work, basically became the model citizen. The assault video made me look like I wasn't. 3. Apologize. To everyone. I went door to door in Desert Ridge, introduced myself, explained the situation calmly, admitted I'd lost my temper. Some doors slammed, many didn't. One woman, elderly, kind-faced, said, "Mr. Brennan, I've lived under Victoria's HOA for 6 years. She fined my husband $200 for leaving our trash cans out 15 minutes past collection. I believe you." Others shared stories. $500 fine for planting roses instead of approved shrubs, forced to repaint house because color was 3 shades off standard, threatened with liens for parking RV in their own driveway. Slowly, quietly, I was building something Victoria hadn't accounted for, a coalition of victims. But I still needed a lawyer, and that's when I met Daniel Park. He was 29, fresh out of law school, working at a nonprofit that handled pro bono property rights cases. When I called, he said, "Mr. Brennan, I saw your video and your apology. Both took guts. Can you help me?" "Probably not. I'm inexperienced, underfunded, and up against Victoria's firm. They're corporate, expensive, ruthless. So, that's a no?" "That's a hell yes. I hate HOA overreach. Let's fight." He wasn't Elena, but he was something better. Hungry. We met at my ranch. Daniel walked the property, reviewed every document, and said, "You're going to lose the first hearing." "What?" "I may." Commissioner Greg Harrington is Victoria's brother-in-law. He won't recuse himself. He's done this before. We won't have time to appeal before the hearing. So we go in knowing we'll lose. Then why bother? Because, Daniel grinned, we make such a good case that when we appeal to state level, they'll overturn immediately. We build the record now for the win later. That's a risky strategy. You got a better one? I didn't. The hearing arrived on a scorching May morning. The county building was packed. Residents, media, veterans in uniform who'd come to support me. Victoria sat at the plaintiff's table with her attorney, a shark in a suit named Marcus Sterling. Yes, same first name. He made jokes about it. Commissioner Greg Harrington presided, looking like a man who'd already made his decision. Daniel stood. "Commissioner, before we begin, I move for your recusal due to familial conflict of interest. Denied. Miss Harrington is my sister-in-law, but I'm perfectly capable of impartiality. Then I'd like that denial on the record. So noted. Round 1 to Victoria. Sterling opened. Commissioner, this case is simple. Desert Ridge Estates expanded its boundaries in 2023, legally incorporating adjacent properties including Mr. Brennan's ranch. When he refused to comply with community standards, we attempted civil remediation. He responded with violence. Alleged violence, Daniel interjected. Charges are pending. Nevertheless, Sterling continued, Mr. Brennan has demonstrated hostility toward community welfare. We're requesting the county reclassify his land from federal homestead to county jurisdiction, allowing HOA integration. Daniel stood. That's impossible without VA approval, which hasn't been granted. The VA review is pending due to Mr. Brennan's criminal behavior, Sterling shot back. Misdemeanor assault charge, not criminal. And enough, Commissioner Harrington interrupted. Mr. Park, does your client have documentation proving federal protection extends beyond the review period? Daniel hesitated. The review is procedural. That's a no. Then, until the VA completes its investigation, I'm granting a temporary injunction. Mr. Brennan is prohibited from making any property modifications. Desert Ridge HOA has provisional jurisdiction pending final VA determination. The room erupted. Veterans shouted. Daniel objected. I sat there, numb. I'd just lost my land. Temporarily. Maybe permanently. Outside, Sam found me sitting on a bench, head in hands. Marcus, don't. Just don't. This isn't over. Yes, it is. VA review takes 6 months. I can't rebuild, can't fight, can't even defend my property. Victoria won. So appeal. With what money? Daniel's pro bono, but filing fees alone, I stopped. Sam, I'm thinking about selling. What? I'm serious. Sell to Victoria, take the loss, move somewhere quiet. This fight is destroying me. Brother, you don't mean that. But I did. Because that night, I got a call from the VA. Jennifer Cole again. Mr. Brennan, I'm calling with an update. Due to the county's provisional ruling and ongoing legal disputes, we are expediting your review. That's good? Not necessarily. Expedited means decision in 30 days. If we find against you, federal protection ends immediately. You'd have to reapply, which takes years. And if you find for me, then you're protected. But, Mr. Brennan, the assault charge weighs heavily. I'll be honest, it's not looking good. She hung up. I sat on my porch, watching stars appear over the superstitions, and realized I had 30 days before losing everything, and no idea how to win. That's when Duke started barking. Headlights approached, unusual at 9 p.m. A silver sedan pulled up. Victoria Harrington stepped out, alone, looking exhausted. Mr. Brennan, she called. Can we talk? Every instinct screamed no, but I was tired of fighting. 5 minutes. Stay by the fence. She nodded, respecting the restraining order. We stood 10 feet apart, enemies separated by wire and law. I came to make you an offer, she said. Sell me your land. I'll pay fair market value $850,000. You walk away, no more legal fights, no more drama. Why? Because I'm tired too, her voice cracked. I've spent 10 years rebuilding after losing my ranch, building this HOA, maintaining control, proving I could protect property. And then you showed up another veteran with federal land rights, someone I can't control, and it triggered everything I'd buried. I stared at her. You lost a ranch? Foreclosure. 2014. Bank took everything. My husband blamed me. I blamed myself. She wiped her eyes. When I see your ranch, I see my failure. When you fight me, I fight the bank that destroyed me. Victoria, I know it's not fair. I know I'm projecting, but I can't stop. So, I'm offering you a way out. Sell Marcus, before I destroy you the way I was destroyed. I should have felt triumph. She was admitting everything: trauma, projection, obsession. Instead, I felt sad, because I recognized that look in her eyes. I'd seen it in my own mirror. Victoria, I can't sell. This land is all I have left too. After 35 years serving, fighting, losing pieces of myself in deserts overseas, this is where I'm supposed to heal. Then we're both stuck. Maybe, or maybe we're both fighting the wrong enemy. She laughed bitterly. Who's the right enemy? The system that hurt both of us, banks that foreclose, HOAs that overreach, laws that don't protect veterans or homeowners. We're killing each other while the real problem laughs. Nice speech. Doesn't solve anything. No, but it's true. She turned to leave, then stopped. Marcus, I won't pull my petition. I can't. If I lose this fight, I lose everything again. And if you win, I lose everything. I know. I'm sorry. She drove away, leaving me with a terrible realization. We were both victims. We were both villains, and only one of us could survive. The question was, could I beat her without becoming her? Or was it already too late? The next morning, I made a decision that Sam called insane and Daniel called strategic suicide. I invited the media to my ranch. Not just local news, national. I reached out to every reporter who'd covered the viral assault video and said, come see the full story. They came. 10 cameras, 20 journalists, equipment everywhere. But before the press conference, I did something harder. I sat in Dr. Williams' office, the base counselor, for the first time in years. Marcus, she said gently, what are you really afraid of? Losing the ranch. Try again. I stared at the floor, becoming nothing. The ranch is proof I survived. That 35 years of war didn't break me. If Victoria takes it, then what? Then maybe the war did break me, and I've just been pretending. She leaned forward. Marcus, you grabbed a woman because she threatened your identity. That's trauma response, not strategy. I know, do you? Because you're about to do a press conference where you'll be judged by millions. Are you ready for that? Or are you still fighting to prove you're whole? I didn't answer, because I didn't know. The press conference happened anyway. I stood on my porch unshaven, exhausted, but honest. My name is Marcus Brennan. 6 weeks ago, I grabbed an HOA president during a property dispute. That was wrong. I've apologized privately and publicly. What you haven't heard is why. I walked them through everything. Federal homestead grant purchased with military service, HOA expansion attempts that began 18 months ago, pattern of harassment, fake code violations, trespassing inspectors, bulldozers on my land. Victoria's own trauma, her foreclosed ranch in 2014, the assault. Me losing control when she hammered eviction notices to my barn, the viral video that made me look like an unhinged veteran, county hearing stacked against me by Victoria's brother-in-law, VA review, threatening my federal protection. I'm not asking for sympathy, I said, voice cracking despite myself. I'm asking for something harder, nuance. Victoria Harrington and I are both fighting for property, identity, and survival. Neither of us is purely victim or villain. A reporter interrupted. Are you saying she's right to harass you? I'm saying she's human. She lost her ranch 10 years ago to foreclosure. Bank took everything. Husband left. She rebuilt herself as an HOA president, someone who'd never lose property again. Then I showed up with federal protections she doesn't understand, and it triggered every nightmare she'd buried. That excuses assault? Nothing excuses assault, mine or hers. Because, yes, I held up my scratched face. She attacked me too. But only one of us went viral. Another reporter, what do you want? I want the law to be clear. Veterans shouldn't have to fight bureaucracy for land they earned. HOA presidents shouldn't have so much power that trauma turns into tyranny. And most of all, I looked directly at the camera. I want Victoria and I to both survive this, because we're not enemies. We're both casualties of a system that failed us. The segment aired that night. Response was complicated. Still doesn't excuse assault. True, HOAs are out of control. Also true, this guy's playing victim now. Partially true. Victoria lost her own ranch? That explains everything. Very true. Why is everyone focusing on feelings instead of law? Fair question, but something unexpected happened. Victoria responded, not through lawyers. Through a Facebook video, filmed in her living room, makeup smudged, looking like someone who hadn't slept in days. My name is Victoria Harrington. You know me as the HOA president who was assaulted by a veteran. What you don't know is why I did what I did. She told her story. All of it. The foreclosure, her husband leaving, her daughter refusing to speak to her, the psychiatric hospitalization, the years rebuilding. When I became HOA president, she said, voice shaking, I swore nobody in my community would ever lose property the way I did. I'd enforce every rule, close every loophole, protect every property value. And when Marcus Brennan moved in with his ranch, his horses, his freedom, I saw everything I'd lost. Tears now, genuine. I didn't see a veteran defending his land. I saw the bank that took mine. So I fought him the way I wish I'd fought them with every weapon I had. Legal, illegal, doesn't matter. I just wanted to win for once. She wiped her eyes. But Marcus was right. I wasn't fighting him. I was fighting my own ghosts. And I'm sorry. I'm stepping down as HOA president. I'm entering therapy. And I'm withdrawing all claims against his property. The video ended. It went more viral than the assault clip. Within 24 hours, number forgiveness over fighting trended. Local news ran dueling apologies. Veteran and HOA president both seek healing. Senator Patricia Morrison announced legislation to protect military homestead grants. And me? I sat on my porch, watching Victoria's video on repeat, crying like I hadn't cried since leaving the service, because I finally understood. We'd both been fighting PTSD. Mine from war. Hers from foreclosure. Different battles. Same wounds. That night, I called Dr. Williams. You were right, I said. I wasn't fighting for land. I was fighting to prove the war didn't break me. And now? Now I know it did break me. And that's okay, because broken doesn't mean destroyed. No, she said gently. It doesn't. The next few weeks brought changes I never expected. Week 1. Senator Morrison invited me to testify before Congress on military property rights. The bill officially, the Brennan Protection Act, would prevent HOAs from annexing federal homestead land without VA approval. I almost said no, didn't want my name on anything. But Daniel convinced me. Marcus, this isn't about you. It's about every veteran who comes after. So I testified. Nervous, sweating, reading from notes because I didn't trust myself to speak freely. Members of the committee, I began. I'm not a hero. I'm a veteran who lost his temper, grabbed someone, and got arrested. I'm also a veteran who served 35 years and came home to land I thought was protected. I told the story, all of it, including my mistakes. If this bill passes, I concluded, it won't prevent all conflicts, but it'll prevent veterans from being weaponized by bureaucracy, and it'll prevent HOA presidents from becoming dictators because the law was unclear. The bill passed unanimously. President signed it 2 months later, and for the first time since the assault, I felt like maybe, just maybe, something good had come from all this pain. Week 2. The county dropped the provisional injunction. I could rebuild, but I didn't immediately start. Instead, I did something harder. I visited Victoria. She answered the door, looking smaller somehow. Less blazer and heels, more jeans and exhaustion. Marcus. Surprise. Maybe fear. Can we talk? The restraining order, I had it lifted. If you're comfortable. She nodded, stepped onto her porch. We sat on opposite ends, careful distance still between us. I saw your video, I said. I saw your press conference. Victoria, I need to know. Did you burn my barn? Long silence. Then, no. But I thought about it. I believed her. Someone did. The arson report confirmed accelerant, but no suspects. She looked away. I have enemies too, Marcus. Former board members I voted out, residents I fined. Someone probably thought they were doing me a favor by committing arson, by hurting you. That's what happens when you create a culture of fear. People take your worst impulses and run with them. We sat in silence, two broken people trying to figure out how to be human again. What are you going to do now? I asked. Therapy. Every week. Maybe go back to school. I used to want to be a teacher before. She gestured vaguely at her house. Her life. Before all this, that's good. What about you? Rebuild. The barn. Myself. Figure out who I am if I'm not fighting. That's the hard part, she said quietly. I spent 10 years fighting. Now I don't know who I am without an enemy. Maybe we're both learning. She smiled, sad but real. Maybe. I stood to leave. Victoria, for what it's worth, I forgive you. I don't deserve. Nobody does. That's why it's called grace. I walked back to my truck, feeling lighter than I had in months. Week 3. Sam organized the barn raising. 40 veterans showed up at dawn. Lumber trucks, tool belts, a portable grill, smoking ribs by 10 a.m. Heard you needed help, brother, Sam said, grinning. We worked all day, measuring, cutting, hammering. The rhythm of construction felt like therapy, repetitive, purposeful, healing. By sunset, the frame was up. By the end of the weekend, I had a barn, bigger and better than before. One veteran, a young guy named Tyler who'd served in Afghanistan, asked me, Colonel Brennan, how'd you handle it, coming home to another war? I thought about that. I didn't handle it well. I fought like I was still deployed, treated every setback like enemy contact, nearly destroyed myself. So, what changed? I learned the difference between defending and attacking, between justice and revenge, between strength and stubbornness. He nodded slowly. Think I need to learn that too. We all do, kid, every day. When Victoria drove by on Sunday afternoon, she stopped, got out, walked to the fence. Sam tensed. Other veterans watched cautiously, but Victoria just said, It looks good, Marcus. Really good. Thanks. Can I help? Every instinct screamed, no. But then I remembered Dr. Williams' words. Healing happens when you let people change. You know how to hammer? She smiled. I used to build furniture. Before the foreclosure, I handed her a hammer. And for the next 2 hours, Victoria Harrington worked alongside 40 veterans, rebuilding the barn she'd indirectly destroyed. Nobody talked about it. Nobody filmed it. Nobody made it a moment. It just was. And that, I realized, is what healing looks like. Quiet, messy, unexpected. The barn was finished by Monday evening. We installed a plaque. Iron Mountain Ranch, Est, 2010, rebuilt by Brothers 2024. Some battles are won by letting go. Sam raised a beer. To Marcus, who taught us all that veterans don't quit, they just figure out what's worth fighting for. Everyone cheered. I looked at Victoria, standing awkwardly at the edge of the crowd. Our eyes met. She raised her water bottle slightly. I raised my beer. And in that moment, we both understood. The war was over. Not because anyone won, but because we both chose peace. 6 months later, the changes were remarkable. Desert Ridge HOA, under new leadership, Ruth Chen, a retired accountant who actually read the bylaws, the HOA transformed. Fines decreased 90%. Rules became reasonable. Residents started actually enjoying their neighborhood. Several families who'd been terrorized by Victoria apologized to me. Not for her, but for staying silent. We were scared. One man admitted, "She had so much power. Fear makes cowards of us all," I replied. Myself included. The Brennan Protection Act, passed and signed, prevented 47 similar cases nationwide in its first year. Senator Morrison's office sent me updates monthly. One letter particularly struck me from a Marine in Alabama whose HOA had tried the exact same tactics Victoria used. Because of your law, they couldn't touch me. Thank you for fighting. That made everything worth it. Started a non-profit helping foreclosure victims navigate the legal system. Testified before the state legislature about HOA reform. We weren't friends, but we were something. Allies, maybe. Both fighting the systems that had broken us. I started teaching a class at the VA, Transition Strategies Finding Peace After Service. Week 1 topic, When Fighting Becomes Addiction. I told my story. All of it. The assault, the viral video, the near destruction of everything I valued. I thought I was defending my property, I said. Really, I was defending my identity. And when you fight to prove you're whole, you end up breaking yourself worse. A young veteran asked, "So what do we do instead?" You acknowledge you're broken. You get help. You forgive yourself. And you figure out who you are beyond the fight. Does that work? I don't know yet. I'm still figuring it out. 1 year after the assault, I did something unexpected. I sold the ranch. Not to Victoria, not to the HOA, to a young Army couple, both veterans who'd been looking for homestead land. Why are you selling? They asked, confused. Because I don't need it anymore. But you fought so hard. I did, and I learned something. This land was never about territory. It was about learning when to fight, when to forgive, and when to move on. Where will you go? Montana. Smaller property, quieter life. Maybe finally learn to fish without worrying about property lines. They bought it for fair price. I helped them navigate the federal homestead process. Made sure they understood their rights. The day I left, Victoria came by. I heard you're moving. Yeah, Montana's beautiful. That's the plan. Awkward silence. Then she said, Marcus, I need to tell you something. The barn fire, I found out who did it. My stomach clenched. Who? My ex-husband, Richard. He was trying to help me by hurting you. I turned him in. He's being charged. I stared at her. You turned in your ex-husband? He committed a crime on your property because of me. Her voice cracked. I'm so sorry. I may not have lit the match, but I created the environment where someone thought arson was acceptable. Victoria, no. Let me finish. You taught me something. Accountability means owning all the consequences of your actions, even the ones you didn't intend. I nodded slowly. Thank you for telling me. Thank you for not hating me. I tried, couldn't manage it. She laughed short, bitter. Same, we shook hands. Carefully, formally. Take care of yourself, Victoria. You too, Marcus. And hey, she pulled something from her pocket. I made this. Thought you might want it. It was a small wooden plaque, carved by hand. Iron Mountain Ranch, where 2 wars ended and 2 people learned to surrender. I held it, throat tight. This is beautiful. I took woodworking classes. Therapy suggestion, do something with your hands that can't hurt people. She smiled. Turns out I'm pretty good. You are. She walked back to her car, paused. Marcus? If you ever need someone who understands, you have my number. Same to you, Victoria. She drove away. And I stood there, holding that plaque, understanding finally what victory looked like. Not triumph, not dominance. Just 2 broken people who learned to stop hurting each other. Montana was everything I needed. Small cabin, 20 acres, a creek that actually had fish. Neighbors so far away I couldn't see their houses. And silence, real silence. The kind that doesn't hum with legal threats or viral videos or anger. I built a new life. Morning coffee watching elk. Afternoon fishing, still terrible at it. Evening reading started with military history. Moved to poetry. Weekly therapy. Dr. Williams did video sessions. Sam visited once. Looked around. Nodded. You found it, brother. Found what? Peace. Is that what this is? You tell me. I thought about it. I think peace isn't the absence of war. It's what happens when you stop fighting yourself. Damn, You're getting philosophical in your old age. That's what happens when you finally shut up long enough to think. Every Veterans Day, I got messages from the Army couple on my old ranch. Horses love it here. Thank you. From Victoria, 1 year sober from control addiction. Therapy works. From Senator Morrison's office, Brennan Protection Act saved another 12 veterans this year. From Daniel Park, took another HOA case. Thought of you. Thanks for teaching me to fight clean. And from Tyler, the young Afghan vet from the barn raising, Colonel, I just bought my own land. Federal homestead grant. First thing I built was a workshop. Second thing was a sign. No HOA drama allowed. Thanks for showing us the way. I read that last one 3 times. Because that's when I finally understood. The ranch was never the point. The fight was never the point. The point was learning and teaching that service doesn't end when you hang up the uniform. Sometimes the hardest battles are fought at home, against yourself, with the only weapons that matter: honesty, humility, and the courage to admit when you're wrong. 2 years later, I got an invitation. Desert Ridge Community Center dedication in honor of conflict resolution and community healing speakers. Victoria Harrington and Marcus Brennan. I almost didn't go, but Sam convinced me. Brother, you both started a war. Time to declare peace officially. So I flew back to Arizona. The community center was new built where the old HOA office used to stand. Inside, veterans, residents, HOA board members, even a few reporters. Victoria spoke first. 5 years ago, I was a different person. Angry, controlling, so afraid of losing property that I tried to take someone else's. Marcus Brennan taught me painfully that control isn't safety, flexibility is. Today, this center stands as proof that communities work best when we serve each other, not rule each other. Applause. Then me. 5 years ago, I grabbed someone in anger, posted a viral video, became exactly what I'd spent 35 years fighting against: someone who solves problems with force. Victoria taught me painfully that being right doesn't excuse being cruel. Today, I'm grateful we both survived our war. Standing ovation. Afterward, Victoria and I stood outside, watching the sunset paint the superstitions. "Did you ever imagine this?" she asked. "That we'd be giving speeches together?" "Never." "That we'd both be happy?" "I thought about my Montana cabin, my therapy sessions, my fishing failures. Yeah, I'm happy. You?" "Getting there. Teaching at community college now. Helping people understand property law." Ironic, right? Perfect, actually. "Marcus, can I ask you something?" "Sure. Do you think we're different people now? Or just the same people who learned better?" I considered that. Both. We're who we always were. Stubborn, traumatized, fierce. We just learned to aim those traits at fixing problems instead of creating them. That's probably the wisest thing you've ever said. Don't tell Sam. He'll never let me hear the end of it. She laughed. Real, genuine, free. And in that moment, standing in the Arizona desert where we'd both nearly destroyed each other, I realized something. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's choosing to remember without rage. We took a photo together, Victoria and me, arms around each other's shoulders, smiling like old friends. Someone posted it with the caption, "From enemies to allies, the HOA fight that changed everything." It got 50,000 likes. But the comments that mattered most were from other veterans and HOA presidents. If they can find peace, maybe I can too. This gives me hope for my own neighborhood fight, proof that people can change. That night, flying back to Montana, I looked out the window at America passing below thousands of properties, millions of people, all fighting their own battles over land, identity, meaning. And I thought, maybe that's what we're all trying to do. Find a piece of earth that's ours, defend it when necessary, surrender it when wise, and learn the difference before we destroy each other. Freedom isn't won with anger. It's earned through integrity. One hard choice at a time, even when the whole world is watching, especially then.